Whenever you see those videos of people filming in their car, I've literally seen, why are you in your car, dude? Why are you filming in your car, man? Have you ever walked around filming yourself outside? You look like a freaking lunatic. And people point and stare, and people disregard you making a video. Even in my last video, you know, that shot where I walked through the that nice walkway at the beach, the shrubbery, all Alice in Wonderland like. Someone messed up the shot. I had to reshoot it because people don't care. People don't care, and especially if you have a cell phone now. This is the first video I'm making with my new phone. My phone broke. One of those cases where you got clothes in one hand and you got a cell phone in the other hand. You don't want something to fall, but you juggle these things in your hand, and I chose the clothes over the cell phone, and it hit pretty hard. Like probably a 3-foot drop straight onto a floor that's as hard as concrete, and it died. No big deal. Black lives matter. Black lives matter. You know, black lives do matter. Most definitely. When Black Lives Matter was brand new, I remember there was a 2016 rally with Hillary Clinton and Black Lives Matter. And it was the first time Hillary Clinton had ever heard it, or at least it's the first time she ever saw it in person. A protest or just it being broadcasted to her on that level. And Hillary Clinton's first response was, all lives matter. And then she later corrected herself saying, oh, I didn't get it. Black lives do matter. That's what I meant to say, including black lives. You know, everyone's life matters. But Black Lives Matter isn't all lives matter. Black Lives Matter is focusing on black people being killed. That's the focus. You can have a peaceful protest, and that's a good thing. I agree with the peaceful protests. Black lives do matter. You know, I'm not blind to the fact that I'm white, all right? I'm so white, all right, that one time Tim Heidecker, you know, Tim and Eric, awesome show, great job, put sunscreen on my neck. And Tim Heidecker is an extremely white guy, all right? He's blonde-haired, blue-eyed, super pale. But me standing next to him, I was even paler, all right? And my neck was like solid Jack White white. I'm not as white as Jack White, but that's because he goes for that gothic look. I guarantee he wears makeup. But as Tim Heidecker's spraying like SPF 100 on my neck, he commented, wow, you're one of the whitest people I've ever seen in my life. And I was like, coming from Tim Heidecker, I must be pretty white. But that's neither here nor there. It's not about race, other than putting the focal point on people of a darker skin color are being killed. And you can look at the statistics all day long. George Floyd died under horrendous circumstances. Dave Chappelle just put out a special. I watched it. Amazing, genius. He only cracked like 2 jokes, and they were clearly improv jokes that weren't even intentionally supposed to be bits. They're just side jokes that he just came up with on the spot. You could tell the whole thing A to Z. He didn't want to ruin it with a routine. He just wanted to talk about George Floyd. And as a celebrity, he didn't feel he needed to make a message. The streets speak for themselves. I'm nobody, you know, I'm just some white dude on YouTube. One of the whitest dudes Tim Heidecker's ever seen. So clearly I'm pretty white, all right? As a YouTuber, no one looks, oh, what is this YouTuber? What is this random second-rate white YouTuber have to say about it? No one cares what I have to say about it. People could care less. I was going to shoot this video with a nice ocean scene with my hat on, but as I've mentioned, I don't have much time. I work, and they like me closing. They like me locking up the doors at 10:30 p.m., and I'm wiped out by the end of the day. I go home, I barely have enough time to have dinner, and I go straight to sleep. Then I wake up late because I closed late, and I only have 2 meals a day these days. Whatever. Anyway, George Floyd. I have never seen the full video. 2 days ago, I saw a ABC, CBS, or CNN commercial. I can't remember which one because I didn't have control of the remote control. No big deal. But it's the first time I've ever seen the George Floyd video other than a photograph. I saw the still photograph, just like Dave Chappelle said in his special. He purposefully didn't want to watch the video because it's something that can't be unseen. He says anybody that watches that video can't see anything other than what it is and get angry about it. There's a lot of politics involved. There's a lot of people getting on both sides. Let me tell you about George Floyd from the perspective of meeting a George Floyd. I even mentioned this online. No one follows me, no one cares, but it's still there. You can see it if you want to. I have my Twitter account currently locked. Totally side subject because this is a pandemic and a lockdown, all right? And the trolls have more free time than they've ever had. These are people with unlimited free time, and with the pandemic and the lockdown, they have even more unlimited free time to troll. And during the pandemic, during the lockdown, I'm going to keep my Twitter account locked because these trolls that have been trolling me for years, and there are multiple different trolls. It might be a handful of people. It might be 5 people. It might be 10. It might be 20. They might be related to the John Teeter expose where I totally annihilated the bogus hoax known as the John Teeter story. Not John Teeter 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, but the original John Teeter that faxed Art Bell and then posted on the Post to Post AM, Coast to Coast AM message forum. That was like a pun they put on there, Post to Post. It's kind of like on Halloween they had Ghost to Ghost. Well, the Coast to Coast forums back in 1999 were called Post to Post. And I never posted on them because I didn't know they existed. Most Art Bell fans didn't know the forum existed, and it was only up for a very short few years, like 99, 2000, 2001, around that time frame. I'm surprised I never heard of it because I was an avid listener during the time, but I never knew it existed, never saw it. Until after the fact, when people are making a big fuss out of this I'm from 2036 thread, which was clearly a troll. Anyway, back to George Floyd. I met a George Floyd, what was it, about a month ago? A month and a half ago? You know what? Time flies. It was about a month and a half ago. I met a guy for the first time at my job that I'm working at, and he wanted to buy a prepaid Visa card. You know, one of those prepaid credit cards you pay in cash. You have to pay in cash. And he handed me, I think it was $100 in 20s, real 20s, and then it was $200 in 50s. The 20s were real, the 50s were counterfeit. It's the first time I've ever seen counterfeit money in my life. I think it might be a felony to try to buy something with counterfeit money knowingly, especially if you're the one who created the counterfeit money or whatever the case. You could correct me if I'm wrong on that. It doesn't matter to me. All I'm saying is this. A guy tried to buy a prepaid Visa card he wanted it loaded with $300. He only handed me $100. So he's trying to get $200 for free. And I'm looking at it, and clearly the 50s were printed on computer paper. Just flimsy, regular white computer paper. So the color was off from the get-go. Green ink was obviously inkjet printed on there from a home computer poorly, not even close to as intricately as the Treasury prints money. It didn't feel real. The paper feel is totally different. It felt like he crinkled it a bunch of times. Maybe popped it in the dryer to give it an extra crispy crinkle effect, whatever, I don't know. But he really tried to make it feel extra crinkly, so it was overly too crinkly. It didn't feel real. It was too crinkly. It was too white. Didn't have that beige green color that real money has. And then I marked it with the counterfeit pen, which I happened to have found the day before, so I had it. And I marked all the bills, and it turned dark. It's supposed to be yellow if it's a real bill. If it's fake, it turns really dark. And then I looked closely at the edges, and there was a pixelated black line around every single fake $50 bill. And it was for them to cut it. These were the worst counterfeits you could imagine. If you can't cut it without a line to tell you where to cut it, you have no business being in the counterfeit business, but no one really should. What happened with that guy is I said, yeah, dog, this stuff's fake. He's like, what? And I said, yeah, these 50s aren't real. See the line it marks, it's the counterfeit pen says it's fake. It's clearly fake, doesn't feel real, isn't real. He's like, oh, this is news to me. I just got it from a guy. I got it from a guy. He's like, is this real? And I was like, yeah, these 20s are real. But these 50s, they're no good. You cannot buy this $300 preloaded card with this fake money. And I scanned his driver's license too. You have to scan someone's driver's license for an amount that high. And I think the limit's $500, so he purposefully kept it in the 300 range, hoping he wouldn't set off any alarms, but he did. When I scanned his driver's license, he's in the system, and the bank knows about it. I don't know what happened. I don't think anything happened of it. All I can say is this. He said, oh, I just got it from a friend. Let me go. I gotta go see this guy. I gotta get my money back. Or he made up some excuse, and then he walked out of the store pretty fast because he knows if the cops show up, he could get arrested. It's extremely against the law, but you gotta understand. I don't know personally because I've never dealt with that, but if I had to say, he would have got handcuffed and they would have confiscated the money. They would have given him the runaround. He would have been in jail for who knows how long, I don't know. But probably a pretty short stint. Probably a pretty short amount of time. It's probably one of the weakest felonies in the world, if it is one. All I can tell you is this. The guy was desperate. During COVID-19, we're getting a lot of notices. Be extra kind to the customers. They're under a lot of stress. They're watching every single day. You might die. On top of that, a lot of them are out of work. People are paying in food stamps every single day. People are shoplifting every single day. This guy was desperate enough to use $200 or more like $0, but an imaginary $200 worth of fake money. And I didn't call the cops because it was, I got this from another guy. He left. I gave it to the person who's above me, and there's only one person above me, and usually not. Usually I have to be alone. Whatever the case, doesn't matter. If it was my call, I would have been like, you know what? I told him it was fake. He was out of there. He was under a desperate situation. I could tell you one thing. If I did call the cops, and if the cops put their neck on that guy and he died, I would have felt devastated for the rest of my life. But I was handling 10 customers in a row by myself. Even though I'm not a cashier, I'm helping out. And when you help out, the cashiers think they can take a free break, and you're stuck helping them out all day long. And that's kind of what happened that day. But 30 minutes after the guy left, I did bring it to the attention of the person above me, which is only one person, and they looked at the video and they saw what I did, and I did what I had to do. I marked it. I told them it was fake. But knowing that George Floyd had a fake $20 bill he was trying to use to buy something doesn't change anything. It actually makes it even worse. If I've ever seen excessive force, if I've ever seen an overreaction to the extreme, and the biggest understatement in the world, cops are there to protect and serve. And I don't think anyone's under the illusion that every cop wants to put their foot on your neck and kill you. But yikes. I watched 4 seconds of the George Floyd video. 4 seconds. It immediately gave me perspective of that still image. And I've only watched 4 seconds because he was on a commercial. ABC News. We're here doing investigations be better than anyone else. And then they showed George Floyd dying for 4 seconds. Pretty distasteful commercial, but it put it into perspective for me, because I purposely kept my distance from that video because I knew I didn't want to see someone die. Very, very sad. This is what the commercial showed. I can't breathe, officer. Even as he's dying, he's being polite and addressing the guy with his foot on his neck, or his knee on his neck, or whatever the position was. He's referring to him as officer. Even as he's grasping his last breath and dying, he's being polite. So there's no question he was cooperating. There shouldn't be anyone with a foot or a knee on their neck for longer than 0 seconds. It should never happen ever, period. Ever in the history of any time, ever. So such a stance should be banned permanently. Racism is clearly a huge issue. It's ignorance. Ignorance is a huge issue. But there's a difference between ignorance and stupidity. That cop's a straight idiot. Everyone knows it. Yeah, I guess ignorance isn't a bad thing, because a baby is born ignorant. I can tell you my years of working at crappy jobs my whole life. There's always a manager who punishes you for being ignorant at every job I've ever worked. That's a side story. Who cares? George Floyd, man. I feel really bad. I feel really bad that for 8 minutes and 40 some odd seconds, I can't remember how many seconds, 46, 48, 8 minutes. I couldn't stand that 4-second clip. I can't imagine 8 minutes. Being light-skinned and being on the internet, I come across racists pretty commonly. We're talking, I don't know, one comment or one message to me out of hundreds. I wouldn't say every month, but maybe every 3 months, a racist will say, "Hey, do you agree with me on this?" No, I don't. I don't agree with you on this, racist person. I'm a fan of all men are created equal, all women are created equal, all human beings are created equal. No matter what the pigment of your DNA strand says. So when I saw that officer's knee or foot, whatever the case may be, on the neck of George Floyd, I immediately pictured my face in the same position. And then I pictured someone else's face in the same position. And then I pictured a woman's face in the same position. And then I pictured a kid's face in the same position. I pictured a boy, a girl, a kid, me, you, anyone. And I said, you know what? Just think if he was a 10-year-old kid or a 20-year-old woman with the same knee, foot on their neck and they die. I think the reaction would be a little bit different. So when I hear Dave Chappelle say people are talking about the rap sheet, you know, I was confronted by an attempted counterfeiter, an attempted purchase with counterfeit money just about a month and a half ago. And in no way, shape, or form would I want that guy excessively a neck, air supply cut off and killed. That's the most extreme overreaction I've ever seen in my life. Now, I'm sure there are worse examples. People getting the guillotine for disagreeing with the king in history. But people are fed up. People are fed up with overreactions. People are fed up with people getting the guillotine just because this or that. The guy was desperate. These are desperate times. You don't even know how desperate it is. Shoplifting has gone up 1,000%. Someone broke into my store that I work at 2 Sundays ago, and they cut their hand, and there's blood all over the place. They were clearly an amateur. I don't know if they cut their hand on the window, but they broke through a window. They cut their hand excessively. A cleaning crew had to be brought in. I think they did a fingerprint job. Of course, there's DNA. And DNA in the blood right there. You know, no one wanted to work in the area based on contamination. With COVID-19, that's one of the issues, but clearly there's other potential problems there. And that break-in was just a single solitary guy, had nothing to do with the protests. Just one dude. But there was a break-in at the local mall here, they say was related to the protests. And it could have been people from out of town, people taking advantage of the situation, most definitely. Peaceful protests. Black Lives Matter, peaceful protest. I'm fine with it. I think it's totally a good cause. No one wants to see it turn violent. Violence begets violence. You don't want to go out there and have a violent protest. That just results in more violence. Go out there, have a peaceful protest. It will beget more peace. I'm just a YouTuber. I'm just a nobody. I'm a second-rate YouTuber. No one cares about me. But I stand up for equality. Review Bra, you know, he gets a lot of trolls bothering him. But now he's in a position where hopefully his trolls are now turning into his fans, and they like him, and he's a famous celebrity on YouTube. But he took the time, Review Bra took the time to tweet me a couple times saying, you know, keep your head up, things will turn around, you'll be a successful YouTuber. And he said stuff like, you know, don't let anyone bother you, don't let anyone put you down based on anything. And Review Bra really stands up for the voiceless in that regard. He took the time to send a tweet to me, and that's more than any famous YouTuber has ever done. So he's actually a genuinely kind individual. I don't think I'll ever be a big YouTuber. It's never going to happen. But I could definitely take his advice and not let the trolls bother me. George Floyd. It happens so often in the news, you get jaded by it. You get used to it. It should never be something you're jaded by. It should never be something you get used to seeing. People should stand up and say, enough is enough, in a peaceful way, a peaceful protest. I was going to talk about George Floyd being killed from a spiritual perspective. I think Dave Chappelle did it better than I could ever have done. Dave Chappelle said he called for his dead mother or his dead grandmother, or something to that effect. I only watched it just yesterday, and I can't remember if he was mother. I think he was his dead mother he's calling for. And that is a sign that the heavenly gates are opening, and he could see that he was going to die, as Dave Chappelle mentioned. Dave Chappelle said he had never seen that before except one other time, when he saw one of his relatives on a deathbed calling for their dead mother. So he knew and saw something of a spiritual nature took place. So I was going to break it apart and talk about the spiritual side, the spiritual aspect. I have seen the death of a close loved one, and I have seen them respond on a spiritual nature. But it's too private. It's too private of a thing. I cannot disclose. I was going to break apart saying, you know, there's evil spirits around everything at all times. But we can't use these evil spirits as a scapegoat. The second you use evil spirits as a scapegoat is the exact same second you're using them as a cheap cop-out. Like, oh, rules don't apply. Evil spirit did it. That's not how it works. See, there's positive spirits around us at all times, angels. There's evil spirits around us at all times, devils, demons, whatever you want to call them. And so they cancel each other out to an extent. So why are they there? If they cancel each other out, why are they there? Well, based on certain laws of the universe, which are unseen and unknown, occasionally the good side outbalances the negative side, and occasionally the bad side outbalances the positive side. But it's all up to freedom of choice. It's not fate, although sometimes it is fate. I do believe both fate and freedom of choice exists. How can they simultaneously both exist? And I have questioned and pondered things like that, and I think this is how it works. And it's just a theory that I came up with to justify how both fate and free will exists. How can they both exist? If I'm fated and destined to do this and be this and go here and do that, then how can I have free choice? No matter what I do, I'll end up there because it's fated, right? Well, this is how I see it as a potential way that they can both exist simultaneously, harmoniously. That certain pinpointed destinations are fated. And in between those pinpointed destinations, you have free will. The pinpointed destinations will happen, but there can be a left turn and a right turn. And then perhaps you have to take the long way to get back to that fated, destined, predestined destination. But in between, you can use free will to do whatever you want. I definitely do not believe in do what thou wilt. Do whatever you want. I don't believe in that. Because do whatever you want says, oh, you want that fancy car? Just break into the car lot. Just steal it. Hotwire it. Drive it home. Chop shop it. It's a movie called Gone in 60 Seconds. Not the one with Nick Cage, but the original one. Check it out. You'll see how they chop shop a car, and they do a good job at it. What they do, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. Anyway, I don't believe in that. Okay, I believe there are unseen beings checking everything you do, and I used to think it was just the angels that wrote down if you do. Oh, that's a good thing. That's a good thing. But no, the demons, the devils, they do it too. The demons and devils are probably equally meticulous on what you do because they want to catch you and snare you. But they can only catch you and snare you if they know exactly how you will react, and they predict how you will react. And sometimes they're wrong. And they were definitely wrong with me in 2010. But that's not what this video is about. But George Floyd, I believe everyone is born and assigned with a guardian angel and a familiar spirit. Familiar spirit's another word for an evil spirit. So you're assigned a good spirit at birth and an evil spirit at birth. Why? A guardian demon, a guardian angel, and a guardian demon. Just yin and yang, polar opposites. Why are we assigned these entities? There are more spirits in the world than there are physical people. Let me rephrase that. There are more non-physical people occupying this planet Earth to 1,000,000 degrees than there are physical people occupying this Earth. I know this video is going pretty long, but George Floyd has a familiar spirit that said, hey, you know what? Counterfeit $20. No one's going to notice. No one ever counterfeits a 20. Come on, they counterfeit $100 bills. Nobody counterfeits a 20. And as I saw a month and a half ago, a guy counterfeited 4 50s because he thought that was small enough where I wouldn't notice. Because, yeah, people don't often counterfeit 50s, you wouldn't think. And people don't counterfeit 20s often at all. I wouldn't expect a 20 to be counterfeited. Anyway, George Floyd's familiar spirit said, you know what? Counterfeit a 20. No big deal. Familiar spirits are evil spirits that tempt us time to time to do small things. You know, do this, do that, do here, do there. They're only going to tempt you what they think you will say yes to. They're never going to tempt you, oh, you know what? Rob that bank over there. Pull a giant heist. There's $1 million jewel right there. Grab it. International jewel thief. Your familiar spirit's going to tempt you on tiny things. Really tiny things. Like counterfeiting a $20 bill. And if you don't think there were a lot of evil spirits around that police officer, you're dead wrong. So that familiar spirit that tempted George Floyd to counterfeit $20 bill, even that familiar spirit probably had no idea it would escalate to this. Even that familiar spirit's going, wow, I had no idea. Evil spirits are evil, but even they can't scheme something even this big, unless there are higher ranking demons involved with some type of elaborate scheme, which no one on an earthly level can know for sure. But most definitely, evil spirits were around those police officers, especially the one committing the murder. Am I supposed to say allegedly? Who knows at this point, but it's clearly the guy got killed because his oxygen supply was cut off, because the guy's knee or foot was on his neck for 8 minutes and some odd seconds. 46, 48. So there are evil spirits all over the place. But when you see, and you can't see because they're unseen beings, and disbelievers are going to think this is just hearsay and told nonsense, but this is how the world actually works, believe it or not. Let's say there's 10 demons around the police officer. Let's say there's 2 demons around George Floyd. There's likely going to be 12 angels overseeing the whole thing, trying to interject, trying to say, let's put a stop to this. Let's try to balance it out and negate all this evil. But like I said, sometimes evil wins a tiny battle. Sometimes good wins a tiny battle. And that day, evil won. Innocent man, innocent of a death sentence, was put to death. Wrongly, to an extreme degree. And I feel really bad watching that video, even for just 4 seconds. I can't watch more than that, because when I watch something, a lot of people are like this, it changes you. And I understand that change is good in this case. It's not like a video where you're going to watch it and, when I was a kid, my cousin said, oh, have you ever seen Faces of Death? I was like, no. And he said it's banned in many states. And he described how Faces of Death is a movie compilation of people actually dying. And I was like, you know what? Not only have I never seen it, I have zero interest watching that for a second. That is freaky stuff. Only a freaking psychopath would want to watch that. That's sick, all right? But George Floyd is a learning video. If you don't have empathy for George Floyd after watching that video, there's something seriously broken and wrong with you. I've seen people online already comment, his rap sheet. He had this rap sheet. And Dave Chappelle brought it to my attention more than anybody. He had a rap sheet. Because I don't watch those political pundits talk about stuff. I don't watch the news. I just happened to be in the room while someone was watching the news when I saw that commercial. I don't watch the news. I don't listen to political pundits. I don't care what they have to say. But I just wanted to voice those opinions. Evil spirits are all over the place, but there's no need to be afraid of them. No need to use them as a scapegoat. They do exist, though, and very few people have seen them jump out of their dimension to manipulate our dimension, such as moving an object. Seems like a different subject, but it's not. It's all intertwined and interconnected. I don't know why people disbelieve spirits exist when there are thousands of years of ghost hauntings, haunted locations you can still visit to this day, haunted for thousands of years, poltergeist incidents for century upon century. And sure, the activity dies down and then it moves because it gets bored. Vampires don't exist that I know of, but poltergeists do. I know, people say they saw a vampire or whatever, but I don't believe in vampires. I don't believe in werewolves. I don't believe in a physical Bigfoot. I don't believe a physical Bigfoot exists. Maybe a physical Yeti did exist a couple hundred years ago. Maybe. I don't know. Maybe there is some long-lost Yeti type creature somewhere. But I think a lot of the sightings of Bigfoot are non-physical spirits. See, I hear a lot of stories about, oh, there's a man in the tree 100 feet up. What is that? Could be a spirit hanging out in the tree. Rarely can you see a physical manifestation of a spirit, but when you do, it's usually a humanoid form. Rarely it will be an animal form, or a combination between human and animal, like you might see in an Egyptian depiction. I think a lot of the bird-headed false gods of Egypt were spirits that manifested themselves as half human, half animal. Half human, half animal is a bit of a calling card, a bit of a trademark among demons. They do like the half human, half animal thing. It's like something they invented. When you're a spirit and you can shapeshift, you get bored, you come up with new inventions. They don't see themselves as humans, because they're not. They don't see themselves as a regular worldly animal, because they're not. They're not a regular worldly creature, because they're not. So they kind of dress up themselves as half animal, half human, fully an animal. Sometimes they're half animal, half human riding an animal. You look at the summonings of spirits. An animal riding an animal is somewhat common among their depictions. There was one sorcerer who said, "What is that creature? What is that?" And the spirit said, "Oh, it's a extinct creature that hasn't lived for a long time." But these spirits have been around forever, and so it remembers an ancient extinct dinosaur, some type of reptile we've never seen, and it manifested riding that, perhaps, with elaborate armor. They got to give themselves some elaborate scale mail, or whatever the case. This video is a little weird, gets a little into the weird side, but you know what? Racism is real. Racism exists. Kind of like spirits. Racism seems to be invisible, and perhaps some people disbelieve in it, or some people disbelieve in how widespread it is. But me personally, being contacted by, I would say, people less interested in equality, people that like to put other people down based on the pigment of their skin or the country they're from, have contacted me from time to time over the years. And it's always, oh, yeah. And I'm like, no. And 99% of the time, I won't even respond. And I'll block the person, because they don't even deserve a response. I'm not interested in putting anyone down based on anything. Ghost investigations will continue. I apologize for this horrendously long upload. It's the first video I've made from my new phone. I am going to do real investigations. I'm going to try to do another video today. Even today, we will see, rest in peace, George Floyd. Mourn with those that mourn for George Floyd. Protest peacefully. I think things will change if you protest peacefully. I think if you protest with violence, things will not change. If you want to take advantage of a situation and break into a building, things will not change. Evil begets evil. Good begets good. So be good to your fellow human being. and karma or positive vibes. I don't believe in a checklist of, oh, you did that good thing, you did that good thing, you did that good thing. Other than I do believe spirits do keep some sort of a mental checklist. Be good. Do good things. Be kind. Do kind things. Even when no one's looking. Spirits are looking. That doesn't motivate me. I have to admit, occasionally, it will motivate me. Occasionally. When I'm like, you know what, I know there's spirits. But it's not a fear tactic. It's not a strategy. It's when you figure out a secret, spirits can teleport. That's not much of a secret. Spirits can teleport. They're non-physical, not a big deal. But I've come across a couple other secrets, and I try to. I don't want the spirits to know that I know that. It turns into the realm of a huge paranoia thing, and I'm not a paranoid person. See, spirits have always been here. Spirits were here before you were born. Spirits will be here after you go into the spirit realm, and you will see firsthand. Rest in peace, George Floyd. He ascended to the place where human spirits go. And I have no doubt in my mind, he is with his loved ones who also ascended to that spirit paradise of peace and love. And it's a beautiful place, but it's not a place you should be in a hurry getting to. Enjoy the world, and the world will be a better place if you have a positive mindset. Now, you can always look at things in a negative way, like, oh, well, I knew this one guy who tried to be positive his whole life, and he was Mr. Nice Guy, and people treated him like trash. They ran over him, and they virtually killed him. Don't look at things in a negative aspect. Look at things in a positive aspect. This is coming from a guy that tried to be good, did his best, and then demons harassed me for 6 months in a haunted room I rented, out of the blue. I can learn from that and be a better person from it. I'm still trying to figure out how I can get the message of demons exist, poltergeists exist, into the world. And it's a very hard message to convey. Racism, and don't be racist. Be good to your fellow man, no matter what they look like, no matter their background. Be good to your fellow human being. They'll be good back to you 99% of the time. If occasionally someone's rude to you based on what you look like, xenophobia definitely exists. It's when people don't like you because you're not exactly like them. If you stick out, and that's not even in the realm of skin color. I'm clearly an outsider to an extreme degree. So never am I ever going to want to put down other outsiders. I see it in Hollywood. I see it in TV shows, movies, articles. People put down outsiders. Spirits exist. George Floyd has ascended to a dimension of peace. Until next time, be seeing you.